Often the greatest adversity results in the greatest developments. We're sitting in very difficult times, and it's okay not to know and to be okay not knowing. But at the end of the day, we do still need to teach. And we're going to take a look at this as PEPs as an opportunity disguised. An opportunity to improve our technological skills and an opportunity to learn how to do things that perhaps we wouldn't have done previously, even in our classrooms when we get back. At PEPs, we are going to remain professional through all of this. We are not going to engage personally with parents and pupils, so please avoid WhatsApp. Your personal phone number should remain confidential. You have a PEPs Gmail account, and a PEPs that opens up a Google Drive through your PEPs email address, and that is what we suggest you use as your professional profile. Also, everybody is going to use Teacher.io, which will translate into My Homework for the Children, and that is the way that we are going to communicate. The prep school and preschool teachers may want to collect their parent Gmail addresses. You might even want to use a Google form to do that. Let's see how that unfolds exactly. Remember that anyone can make online resources available, and if any of us are watching any sort of media, we know that that is true. The difference between PEPs and just surfing the internet is that our teachers, when we come back on the 14th, will have to be available to the children. We have to be willing to support the children, answer their questions, engage with them, and we're going to have to do something to check that the kids are doing what we expect of them. We also are going to, the expectation at PEPs is, if you go back to our founding mandate, we want children who are able to critically and creatively think. And so in designing what you want children to do while they are away from contact teaching at school, please make sure that they can think and that they are able to show you their thinking process. The program we're going to put in for online teaching will involve communicating via Teacher.io, which translates into My Homework for the Kids. Google Drive allows us to share resources, but it also lets the kids share stuff with you so they can submit big assessments via Google Drive. Gmail allows us to answer quick little questions. Please make sure that your Gmail address is on Teacher.io. I will remind you of that in a second. Then you can design Google Forms, and I will give a lesson on that. There is a platform called Google Meet, which uses Gmail addresses where you can actually give live lessons and answer questions in person, even though it's remotely. And then the app that I'm using right now is called Explain Everything, and it allows you to make your own videos if you want to. So, taking a look at Teacher.io, you can see what's very important is if you go to your actual profile, that you make sure that you can edit that and make sure that your PEPs email address is available on there, and that pupils and parents are in a position to email you. Remember, you don't have to answer emails instantly, but it is going to be expected that you'll be available during the school day and that you do attend to emails within a relatively short period of time during school hours, and then obviously it would tide over till the next day if they start asking questions after hours. Then it's important that in your classes you make sure that when you're adding things, if you press this add button, you're just going to add a class. So you need to go back to clicking over here onto one of your classes, and then you're going to add lessons. So once you've got the schedule like a calendar sitting up there, you press add up in the top right hand corner, and then you're going to choose to add a lesson. If we get into this for longer, you might land up adding assignments and deadline dates, but if children know that every day they'll get something and add a lesson from you, that is where they are going to look, and that's where parents will look as well. You also have the option of making an announcement. Announcements should be used only when you're doing some sort of a highlight. They shouldn't be for every single day. Please don't send an announcement every day. The maths lesson will be under lessons or something like that. It should be for unusual activities. So now you've added a lesson. Give the lesson a name, something a bit more interesting than history lesson. I wrote history lesson because I teach content, which is all the subjects, so history tells you that what department they are in. But you might say photosynthesis lesson, maybe you'll say Second World War lesson, or history on Hitler, or something along those lines. Please put the date of the lesson, so what day is this lesson, and you will be expected to put something up every day that you are on the timetable. And then you're going to, in this block, write up what you expect pupils to do. What links do you expect them to follow? What quizzes do you expect them to do? What work do you expect them to submit? If you put them onto a long-term project, you can easily say to them, continue working at this. You should be at such and such a point. Reminder, due deadline date is whatever it is. So even if they are just working on a long-term project or a medium-term project with you, keep them scaffolded and keep them on task in that block. Don't forget to press save. If you don't press save, then you've typed all this stuff up and nobody knows about it. Sometimes on a computer, the settings on the screen make this save button actually like it drops off the bottom of the screen, so you're going to have to scroll up a little bit in order to do the save. As I said, announcements are things that you can also add, but try not to add them unless you are trying to highlight something. This should not be the norm. It should be the exception. Then a really good way of communicating with your kids is to get email addresses. You will be able to access, by the 14th, you'll be able to access a parent email address, even if it isn't a Gmail address, and you will be able to email the parents directly. College, you will be able to email the pupils directly. But please, if you're doing any emailing, please make sure that you use your PEP's email address, and then people can send you messages and you can send it on a professional platform. So as we go into this unknown territory, I suggest that you think what is going to be the best section to teach online, and if that means you adjust your year planner, do so. Don't choose something that you know the kids need hours of hand-holding and support now. Rather choose the kinds of things where the children do work more on autopilot and you can be there for support rather than minute-by-minute instructions. If you want to, obviously not maths and obviously not the matrics and the senior classes, but especially in the junior classes, don't worry that much about the exact curriculum of what's expected. To the natural science, in physical science, not physical science so much, but in social science, you can do stuff that is interesting. Go and look at one of those museum walkthroughs. I've put up a resource and I'll put some more up of various resources that you can choose to look at and do something completely different if you want to. There is a lot available. In fact, there's too much. It's exhausting. And what the parents shouldn't have to do is sift through it themselves. We should be doing the sifting. So in other words, be very targeted. Don't just tell them to go and research X or research Y. Try and give them 2 or 3 good websites to go to. Help them to find the right resources. Where you can find games and fun activities, that is a great idea. Remember that we have to organize and we have to filter all of the information. Please don't bomb your children with information and stuff, and make sure that you chunk the work into manageable sections. These kids can't be working for 12 hours every day, unless, of course, they are in matric, in which case perhaps that is what they should be doing. But for the rest of them, give them the kind of activities that will entertain them for somewhere between 15 minutes and half an hour, and they could spend a little bit more and they could spend a little bit less. Not too much, not too little. If you do decide to make videos, you don't have to, but it is quite an easy way of giving instruction, especially if you are sort of staying on particular topics. Don't worry about being perfect. You've just seen me not be perfect, and they don't recommend that they take longer than 5 to 12 minutes, and every now and again you can pop some questions into them. I'm going to make a little quiz on this video afterwards that you can all do.